it's Food Mommy. We're here at the National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm sitting with Carly Gwynn. She is a farmer here in Kentucky, but she grew up on an apple orchard in northeastern Ohio. So I think that's really cool. Can you tell some of our viewers about what it was like growing up on an apple orchard?
Sure, it was great. You were always in a tree. It was from northeastern Ohio. My great-grandparents started the farm, and they started with a small fruit stand and a couple trees, and they grew to be a 100-acre farm. And we even had some trees that still had pieces of an original Johnny Appleseed tree. And so what they did was graft some of that tree onto a new one, and it blossomed. And so we have a really strong history with that. And basically what we ended up doing is starting an apple house. It was a building where you could come in and buy your produce. You could bag your own apples. You could buy other cheeses. We made our own cider and apple butter. And then we grew into having a bakery where we would make apple pies and pumpkin pies and apple fritters. And then we grew into having our own restaurant. And we would use our own products that we grew on the farm to feed the people that would come in and feed the customers. So today we've grown into a large agritourism business, and we have a 7-acre corn maze last year, and we have thousands of trees that are still growing and that we harvest every year. And we also have a 5-acre pumpkin patch this year. So it's grown a lot.
Yeah, so you have a lot of fun stuff for families to do. Now tell me, what all is involved in having a nice looking apple? Because, you know, sometimes you go to the grocery store, all of them look pretty good, but sometimes you get some that aren't so great. Yeah, what does it take to get a great looking apple?
It takes a lot. It takes, from the very beginning, with the trees up in Ohio don't blossom until about Mother's Day. And so from then on, you really need to take care of it. Even before that, you need to prune the trees, and you have to do that by hand. Nothing's mechanized in an orchard, so you have to prune the trees back. Come springtime, they'll blossom. You need to bring bees in because you need them to pollinate all those trees, and there aren't naturally enough bees in that area. So you have to bring them in and bring in hives. You also have to make sure that once the small apples start growing, you need to thin them out so that you get the bigger ones and not a whole bunch of small ones. But you also need to keep all the bugs away. There's a lot of people say there's worms in apples and things like that. Well, we take really strong precautions and use different chemicals so that we don't get those bugs and that your apple stays healthy and pest-free. And we have to do that at certain times of the day, and we're very cautious about it. And there's just a lot of different things that can affect an animal or an apple. As far as insects go, we also have to worry about hail, and that's something we have no control over. But if you see a little bit of scab on your apple, sometimes that's just from the weather. If it's too rainy, we have to use chemicals to prevent fungus growing and molds. And you know, just trying to keep that apple clean for you.
Yeah. So when you talk about, you kind of have to use some kind of protection product to keep the bugs off, to keep the mold and the fungus off. I'm thinking I'd not want to eat those things. So what should people be concerned about? Residues on the actual product that they're getting from an orchard or from the grocery store?
Normally when we spray in the apple's early development. As it's almost like a human. As it grows older, it gets stronger. So we do that early on. Being outside, you naturally have the rain washing that off. But you do always want to, in any food that you buy from the grocery store or even from your next door neighbor, you want to make sure that you properly wash it. And just get that residue off. Some practices will wax apples to make them look nice and shiny. Personally, I think that gives it a bad taste, but you know, you even want to wash those. They look, you know, nice and shiny. You think they're clean, but a lot of people have probably touched them, and you just need to make sure you properly wash it. But as far as residual, you know, the USDA inspects orchards around the country, making sure that there is no harmful effects on those apples when you go to eat them.
How can you tell if an apple has wax on it? Is there some kind of little test you can do?
There is. If you have nice long fingernails or even just a little bit and just barely scratch the surface, it'll come off as white wax.
And will that come off easily with soap and water?
Yeah, you don't want to use too much soap because you don't want to have to eat the soap, but you can leave it on there and it's fine. I would just use warm water probably and just kind of wipe it off, or if you have a damp rag, just wipe it off firmly and you should get rid of it.
Well, I was able to visit an apple orchard in Kentucky this past fall, and one of the ways they said they knew that the apples were ready to be picked is they did a taste test. So I'm thinking, you know, they're probably pretty safe to eat if they're picking them right off the tree and taking a bite.
Yes, they're very safe. Like I said, there's almost no residual effect from those chemicals. And growing up, our house was in one corner of the orchard and my grandparents was on the other. So on our way up, we would just grab one, and we're healthy, strong as oxes today. So we grew up eating them every day, and it's, as they say, you know, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and it's great for your teeth and great for your health.
Okay, Carly, what's your favorite type of apple?
My favorite type of apple is called the Melrose, and a lot of people don't know of that apple, but my grandfather actually helped develop that at the Ohio State University College of Agriculture, and it's a mix between a Jonathan and a like a John of Gold type thing. It's a sweet, all-purpose baking, eating, and cooking apple.
Great. Well, thank you so much for visiting today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you.